I had a knife under my pillow, and the High Governor was stripping for me. It was shaping up to be one hell of a wedding night. Cael Dorian undid his robes one clasp at a time, deliberate, slow. Broad chest, muscle carved sharp under the firelight. My mouth went dry. I gripped the sheets tighter, reminding myself he'd killed my brother, reminding myself why I was here. Get him to drop his guard, then I'd strike. One quick plunge, one kill. But then his eyes met mine, and heat tore into me so sudden I almost cried. My skin went hot. My scent spiked uncontrolled, pouring into the room. I cursed under my breath, twisting in the sheets, willing it back down. It didn't stop. My body betrayed me. Hips shifting, thighs pressing together, breath coming faster. Cael crossed the room in 3 long strides. His hand closed around my wrist, pinning it above my head. His body pressing me into the mattress like I weighed nothing. My heart hammered against his chest. His scent rolled over me. Sharp spice, smoke, alpha. I shivered. He lowered his mouth to my throat, not biting, just grazing, lips and teeth ghosting over the vein until my pulse stuttered against him. My free hand shot to his shoulder, meaning to push, but my nails curled into his skin instead. His hips shifted against mine, slow, deliberate. My whole body arched before I could stop it. My thighs fell open, betraying me as his weight settled between them. A groan slipped from my mouth, humiliating, needy, and I bit it back with a sharp inhale. His hand slid down, palm pressing flat against my belly, then lower, cupping me through the thin fabric. Heat tore through me, sharp and relentless. I buckled up into his hand, gasping, hating myself for it. "This isn't," I choked, but the words burned out on a moan as his thumb brushed just right. My body trembled, begging for more. His teeth grazed my ear. "Your body doesn't lie," he murmured, voice like smoke. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stab him. I wanted to come apart under him. I couldn't tell which was stronger. And then he stopped, just like that. His weight shifted off me. My wrist fell free. Cold air rushed in where his body had been. I blinked up, dazed, scent still thick in the room. He stood by the door, steady, composed, while I lay ruined and shaking on the bed. "Next time you try to kill me," he said, voice cutting low, "do it when your body won't betray you." Then he was gone. Flashback. 1 year ago. Everyone knew the Thalos and Dorians were poison to each other. We ruled trade, they ruled law. If we starved their soldiers, they taxed our merchants. If they closed the roads, we blockaded their ports. Decades of Cold War, and the city bled for it. The only whispered solution? Marriage. A Thalos Omega to a Dorian Alpha. Perfect in theory, impossible in practice. The Dorians always refused. Too much to lose. Until Kale, sharp, ruthless, newly named High Governor, he bent the city in months. Even my father, who despised Dorians, had to choke down respect. Suddenly, after 50 years, the marriage was back on the table. That night in the solar, my father's voice was iron. "It is settled. The wedding will go forward." Vaughn was ready. Raised for this. My twin, but never my equal. Where I carried paint under my nails, he wore our family name like a crown. He didn't see sacrifice. He saw the coronation. I sat and watched him glow, the golden sun about to marry our enemy and end a war. And I knew. History was being written at that table. It was also the last night my brother ever sat across from me. 6 months later, for once, the city wasn't eating itself alive. 6 months into Vaughn's courtship with Kale, the waters stilled. Skirmishes faded, markets leveled, council quieted. It worked. Together they'd become a symbol, the golden heir and the iron governor, smiling stiffly at festivals, standing side by side in council halls, enough to keep both families in line, enough to make the city breathe. Father relaxed for the first time in years. Mother laughed again. Our halls buzzed with silks, menus, dowries, titles. The wedding wasn't approaching. It was inevitable. And me? I wanted none of it. The machine had always been built around Vaughn. Now that it was running, I could slip away. While he played crown jewel, I faded, gladly. I was already planning my escape. When the vows were spoken, when the city crowned my brother peacemaker, I'd be gone. Brushes, easel, countryside. Dawn air that smelled of pine, not politics. Markets without the names Thalos or Dorian in every breath. They could have their treaties and banquets. I'd lived my whole life in their shadow. I wouldn't waste the rest watching from the wings. Vaughn didn't need me anyway. He'd been built for this. The perfect heir, the perfect groom, the perfect brother, and me? I was only a painter, and gods, I couldn't wait to finally live like it. 5 months later, a month before the wedding, my brother vanished. Not slipped away, not taken a lover's detour or a week's reprieve in the country. Vanished. And Vaughn wasn't the type to vanish. My brother was punctual to everything, down to brushing his damn teeth on the hour. He didn't break schedule, didn't misstep, didn't give anyone a reason to doubt he was the perfect groom to be. Something had happened to him, something bad. Father was the first to break. I'd never seen him unravel before. Our whole family was built on his iron sense of order. The merchant prince who had steered us through embargoes and riots with a straight back and an unshakable gaze. But when the council's messengers left that night, whispering of breach and dishonor, I saw him age 10 years before my eyes. He pulled me into his study, the ink on his hands smudging against my sleeves, and told me the truth. If the marriage pact fails from our side, Ari, we lose everything. The contracts, the roots, the guild rights, they'll strip it all. Generations of our blood gone. His voice cracked, low and hoarse. It was a legacy pact, binding in law and blood. If Vaughn doesn't stand at that altar, our line collapses. I wanted to scream that it wasn't my problem, that I wasn't Vaughn, that I was already halfway packed, brushes and canvases ready for the countryside where none of this mattered. Instead, Father gripped my shoulders so hard I thought he might shake the protest out of me. You're twins. You could stand in his place, just long enough to preserve the pact. No one else can do this. Only you. I hated him for it. Gods, I hated him. But later that night, staring into the warped glass of my washroom mirror, I couldn't deny the truth. If I cut my hair, shaved the beard I'd let grow wild on the road, straightened my posture the way Mother always begged me to, I'd be him. We were twins after all, and that was how my fate was sealed. Not with choice, not with honor, but with a razor scraping the last of my freedom off my jaw. Flashback ends. A week later. And that's pretty much how I ended up here. Married to the man who almost certainly killed my brother to break my family. A week into this farce, I hadn't seen Cael Dorian since the wedding night, since the blade under my pillow. I didn't know if his silence was punishment, indifference, or a test. But the fact that I wasn't rotting in a dungeon meant he had larger games in motion. The Dorian estate was a gilded cage, carved stone, towering windows, servants that moved like ghosts. They never met my eyes, bowing as if I were some fragile ornament their Alpha had brought home. I filled the silence with sketches, small rebellions pressed in charcoal against paper. That afternoon was no different. Sun in the courtyard, a half-drawn bird on the fountain, when a servant appeared at my side. "Lord Cael demands your presence in the conference room." The words were clipped, formal. My stomach dropped. "Conference room," I echoed, setting the charcoal down. "He suddenly remembers I exist?" The servant only bowed lower. I rose anyway, brushing dust from my trousers, heart hammering. I had no idea what waited in that room. 10 minutes later, The doors slammed shut. Dozens of eyes fixed on me. Elders in jeweled silks, stares like blades. At the far end, Cael sat on his throne as if he'd been waiting. Then he rose. A servant unclasped his cape. It fell in a heavy whisper. His steps echoed, slow, merciless. His scent hit, sharp, intoxicating, alpha dominance flooding my lungs. "The claiming ritual," he said. His voice carried like steel. "It happens now." Ice shot through me. Here? In front of them? Something flickered in his eyes, gone before I could name it. "It is tradition." And then the heat slammed into me. Violent. My body folded, knees cracking stone, palms splayed as my scent burst wild. Gasps rustled the chamber. Cael snapped his fingers. Hands seized my arms, hauling me up. I thrashed, useless. The table stopped me hard. Stone bit my ribs. His presence closed in, smothering thought, flooding every nerve. "Don't!" The word shattered in my throat. Cloth tore. Cold air stung. His hand pinned me flat. Then his teeth sank into my neck. White fire ripped through me. I screamed, hoarse, raw. My body bucked, traitorous, the heat twisting with the bond instead of fighting it. Elders leaned forward, eyes glittering. The bond roared alive, burning me inside out. My vision blurred, pulse drowning thought, every nerve screaming his name even as my mind screamed no. When he pulled back, I crumpled against the stone, shuddering. My throat was wrecked. My skin throbbed where his fangs had branded me. The elders rose as one, silent, satisfied, filing out. Only one lingered, an older man with Cael's jaw, his father. "Aren't you coming?" Cael didn't answer. The bond still hummed between us, his scent thick in my lungs. For a breath, he seemed to hesitate. Then it was gone. He followed his father out, leaving me shaking and alone. Later that night, the door creaked open. I didn't look up. Cael entered like nothing had happened, loosening cuffs, shrugging off his coat, moving with that calm that made me want to put a knife in his ribs. "You're quiet," he said. I kept my eyes on the wall. If I looked at him, I'd spit. He sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping closer. "You didn't eat. Don't pretend you care." Silence. Then, "I'm sorry." I laughed, bitter. "Sorry? You dragged me before your clan, stripped me bare, marked me like cattle, and now you're sorry?" His jaw tightened. "I didn't want it like that." "Then why?" My throat burned. "Why humiliate me?" His eyes flickered, soft for a breath before hardening. "Because you left me no choice. I came to your bed the first night to spare you that spectacle. But you had a knife under your pillow." I froze. Heat spiked through me. Shame, rage, panic knotted tight. He studied me, unblinking. When I said nothing, he exhaled, stood, and gripped the doorframe, knuckles white. "That's what I thought," he said, and left. The silence after was suffocating. My hands shook. I grabbed my sketchbook and fled to the balcony. The next morning, I woke to the scrape of porcelain. Cael stood over me, holding out a cup of coffee like we were any ordinary pair of newlyweds instead of a predator and the fool he'd branded in front of half his clan. My sketchbook was still open across my lap, my pencil loose in my hand, smudges dark on my fingers. "You made this?" I rasped. He nodded once. I laughed, sharp and bitter. "What, the great High Governor lowering himself to the peasant work of boiling water? You've got a legion of servants at your command. Why would you bother?" His answer was maddeningly calm. "Some things are best done by oneself." I snatched the cup from him, burning my tongue just to keep from saying more. He glanced at my sketchbook. "You draw well," he said after a moment. "Almost a perfect likeness." "It should be." My tone was knife-edged. "It's a self-portrait." His gaze lingered, sharp enough to pin me in place. Then he shook his head. "No, that's not you," I bristled. "And what would you know about me?" His answer was quiet, steady. Because that's Vaun Thalos, and you're not him. The words hit like a blade under the ribs. My blood went ice cold. The pencil slid from my fingers and clattered against the floor, loud in the silence. He knows. He's known. All along. The wedding night. The hesitation in his eyes. The way he's watched me like he's cataloging every breath. He's known. My throat locked. Useless, my tongue thick against the roof of my mouth. I wanted to scream, to deny it, but all I could do was stare at him, waiting for the hammer to fall. A knock shattered the air. A servant bowed low in the doorway. "My lord, the council requests your presence." Cael's eyes stayed on me for one heartbeat longer, unreadable, unbearably sharp. Then he turned, cloak brushing the floor, and left without another word. Later that evening, the rest of the day was hell. I couldn't eat, couldn't sit still. My sketchbook lay open, the portrait glaring like evidence. He knows. He knows. What if the Dorians already suspected? What if the elder's silence was calculation, not disinterest? What if my family was already in their sights? Every sound made me flinch. Every servant looked like a spy. By nightfall, my cheek was raw, the floor worn from pacing. No Cael. Midnight came. Still nothing. My nerves stretched to breaking. I almost sent for him. Then the brand flared. White-hot lightning seared my neck. Rage crashed through me, not mine but his, choking, buckling my knees. Cael. His fury, raw and direct. But why? I staggered forward, following the pulse through the manor. Torchlight blurred as the mark throbbed in time with my heart. At the office doors, they slammed open. His father stormed past, robes snapping, eyes fire and stone. His gaze hit me like I was furniture, never looking back. My chest heaved. What the hell was inside? Cael stood at his desk, fists braced, eyes molten. "What the hell was that?" I snapped. "Nothing." "Leave it." "Nothing?" My throat burned. "Your nothing nearly burned me alive." He faltered. Guilt flickered. "I apologize." The pain eased enough for me to breathe. What happened? "My family," he ground out. Always hungry, always pushing. Tonight was no different silence, rage humming under his skin. "So I just suffer while you brood?" His eyes flashed. "You think I want this bond? Gnawing you raw? I'm trying to control it. For you, I bit back a retort, then went for the truth eating me alive. Then tell me what you meant. About me not being Vaun Thalos. You're not." "That's not an answer." "I knew him." "Well, whoever you are, you're not him." My stomach dropped. "You knew him?" "Yes. He was my best friend. We hated the marriage, swore it would only ever be duty. So when you saw me, I knew. The scent was close, but not his. Yours was different, wilder a faint smirk. Exotic." The words barely landed. "You knew Vaughn," I whispered. "Yes. Why does that shake you?" "Because he's missing." "I don't know what happened," my voice cracked. "Do you?" His surprise chilled to suspicion. "He's missing?" I nodded. "I thought this—" He cut the air between us. Was his scheme, a way to dodge me. The blade twisted. "No, I thought you had something to do with it," he laughed, bitter and sharp. "Of course." That explains the knife under the pillow. Heat rushed to my face. "Yes, a stupid plan. If you'd killed me, my family would have crushed yours. You'd be buried before anyone knew. I know." He studied me, weighing. "Then who are you?" I drew a breath. "I'm his brother." "Ari!" His voice cracked. I nodded. "You know me?" "Yes, no." He talked about you often. Never said you were twins. Made it sound like you were a younger sibling. "Well, by 5 seconds." He shook his head. "I thought you replicated his looks with a spell. This is fascinating. Do you know where he is?" His eyes dimmed. "No, but I'll find out." Whatever happened, I'll uncover it. You'd do that? He was my best friend. And you, his voice faltered. You deserve to know. Something clenched in my chest. For the first time, I almost believed he wasn't the enemy. 1 month later, a month passed. Still no word of Vaughn. Every day began with hope, ended in silence, but something shifted in the space between. Cael. He stopped feeling like an executioner, and more like something else. He knew I wasn't Vaughn and wasn't his enemy. Once that wall cracked, hours between us stretched unnoticed. We talked. My travels, the cities I'd painted, the barns I'd slept in to catch sunrises. He listened, hungry. Once, almost bitter, he admitted he envied me. That if not for family, council, war, he'd have liked to travel too. At night, after the council drained him, we sifted through scraps of leads on Vaughn, rumors, whispers, dead ends, always side by side, walking the grounds when frustration grew too thick. That's how it happened. Too late, too quiet. Moonlight silvered the gardens, air heavy with night blooms. I should have noticed. The hand at his neck, the clench of his jaw, the rough drag of breath. His rut hit. It slammed into me. His scent thickened, musk and fire curling low in my gut, heat tearing up my spine. Cael, my voice cracked, half warning, half plea. He turned, eyes molten, restraint fraying. His hand clamped my wrist, iron, unshakable. The bond seared. You should go inside, he ground out. I didn't move, couldn't. My scent spilled, sharp and needy. He pinned me to the garden wall. Ivy snapped under my back, stone cold, but all I felt was heat. His mouth crashed into mine, rough, devouring. My wrists slammed above my head, locked in his grip, his weight shaking with the effort not to break. I gasped. He swallowed it, drowning me in his scent, thick and intoxicating. My body betrayed me, arching into him. He tore away, forehead pressed to mine, breath ragged. Say stop, he rasped. Say it, or I won't. I pulled the back of his neck instead, dragged him down, his restraint shattered. His mouth found my throat, biting, sucking, grazing the mark until lightning shot through me. My name ripped from me. He shuddered like it gutted him, kissing lower, leaving fire in his wake. I didn't want him to stop. 2 more weeks slipped by. 2 weeks later. In that time, things between Cael and I had changed. We moved through the estate like a real couple, sharing meals, trading stories, lingering too long in the quiet between words. Sometimes it even felt easy. Beautiful, in a way I never thought possible. But I couldn't enjoy it. Not fully. Not with Vaughn's shadow stretched over every smile, every touch. Every night, I wondered if he was alive, if he was suffering somewhere while I lived in borrowed warmth. The guilt ate at me. That night, Cael returned from the council colder than winter stone. The bond carried it first, icy currents lashing at my chest, sinking deep into my bones. He barely looked at me as he crossed the room. What is it? I asked, uneasy. He didn't answer. Not at first, just reached into his coat, pulled out a folded letter, and dropped it on the desk between us. The sound was small, but it might as well have been thunder. Tell me, he said flatly. Everything you've said? Was it the truth? My stomach lurched. What? He just pointed to the letter. My hand shook as I opened it. The words were simple, sharp. The man masquerading as me is an imposter. Signed, Vaughn. My blood went cold. The handwriting was his. The curl of the letters, the final slash of the N, unmistakable. And then the scent hit me. Faint, faded, but real. Vaughn. My brother. I staggered back from the desk, throat closing. This isn't possible. Cael's eyes cut through me, hard, searching for lies. The letter was addressed to my father, he said quietly. One of my servants intercepted it and brought it to me. The letter was still burning in my hands when the doors slammed open. I jolted. Guards flooded in, armored, armed, blades catching firelight. And behind them, Cael's father, eyes like ice, voice like iron. "Seize him!" For a second, I thought I'd misheard. The bond twisted in my chest, panic lurching through me. Cael was already on his feet. What is the meaning of this? And then, a voice. A voice I knew better than my own. "That man is a fraud." My blood turned to stone. Vaughn, standing in the doorway, alive, whole. His eyes were fixed on me like I was a stranger. "No," I breathed, too soft, too broken. But the guards were already moving, yanking me back. The letter slipped from my fingers. "Wait, stop." Cael's voice cracked between rage and disbelief, but he didn't move. Couldn't. He was staring at Vaughn. So was I. "Vaughn," my voice shattered. "It's me." "Enough." My brother's words were daggers. "He is not who he says he is." "He deceived you all." Cael's face, the horror in his eyes as I was dragged past him, burned deeper than the guard's grip on my skin. The last thing I saw before the hall door swallowed me was my brother, standing straight and merciless, and Cael, frozen, watching me taken. The cell reeked of stone and stale air. 1 week later, day one was disbelief. Vaughn alive, standing there like a ghost, condemning me with a single sentence. Why? Where the hell had he been? Why return only to tear me apart? By day two, disbelief soured into regret. I should have kept moving, stayed with my brushes and sunrises. Instead, I traded freedom for stone walls and politics I never wanted, for betrayal by the only family I had left. Then came anger, hot, steady. Screw Vaughn for keeping silent, then branding me a liar. Screw Cael for letting them drag me out without a word. The bond had been dead ever since. No flare, no whisper. That silence was worse than the cell. By day 3, I stopped pacing. No answers, only questions circling like rot. Where had Vaughn been hiding? What game was he playing? And why the hell was I still waiting? For Cael, for my brother, for anyone to open the damn door. A week passed. No word, no answers. Only the stone and the sound of my own breathing. By day 5, I knew. My body was changing. Pregnant. Perfect. Another chain I hadn't asked for. On the 7th day, the door groaned open. Cael's shadowed beard, bloodshot eyes, clothes wrinkled like he hadn't slept. Still, he filled the room with his presence. "Ari!" His voice was rough. "I'm sorry." My father barred me. I only just slipped free. Everything's burning up there. Vaughn's poisoning the council, driving a wedge through everything. He's trying to ruin my family. My throat dried. "What the hell are you talking about? Why would Vaughn?" Bootsteps, steel, torches, and then Vaughn. His eyes locked on mine, cold. No warmth, no recognition. "You've always been too much of a bleeding heart, Ari." My stomach dropped. What? I disappeared so our family would fold, so the Dorians could take us in and end this farce of independence. The word scraped wrong. Impossible. No, you can't mean that. Vaughn, snap out of it. He laughed. Sharp, humorless. Snap out of it? You were off painting skylines while I raved away in treaties, politics, expectations. I never had a life, never a friend. Until Cael, I staggered. Think of our parents. Everything they sacrificed. Precisely because of them. His voice cracked like a whip, echoing off stone. He surged closer, fury twisting his face. We are a family of Omegas. Do you know what that means? We had no business clawing for power. No business pretending we were equals to Alphas. For generations, we spat in nature's face, and I'm done with it. My breath hitched, the brand searing like it knew he spoke truth. Vaughn! He cut me down. We were born to be dominated. That is what we are. That is all we'll ever be. And I won't let you drag me back into your delusions. He spun on his heel, cloak snapping, guards at his back. Silence collapsed around me. I looked at Cael. His face was gray. Disbelief and grief knotted together. For once, the High Governor looked as lost as I felt. The door slammed shut behind Vaughn, his poison still ringing in my skull. I swallowed, forced words through a raw throat. What happens to me now? Cael's jaw clenched, his hands curled, finally, low and flat. The elders want me to reject you and take Vaughn instead. My chest seized. And is that what you want? For a moment, just a breath, his face cracked, war raging in his eyes. Then it hardened. It doesn't matter what I want. I have no choice. The mark pulsed, aching with the truth. I bit back a sound. But, he added softly, like it cost him, I'm stalling. Every hour I can buy, every move I can make, I'm doing it. For you. To get you out, I wanted to believe him. Gods, I did. He turned for the door, shoulders rigid, every step dragging. The lock slid home behind him, and I was alone again. 2 weeks later, 2 more weeks crawled by. Because of Cael, my prison softened. Food that wasn't slop, a bed instead of stone, fresh air when I begged. But the chains were still there, invisible, unyielding. He came every night, sometimes with updates. Vaughn, the elders, the slow swallowing of my family. Other times we read together, shoulders touching until the silence turned thick, almost enough to forget I was a prisoner. Almost. The night before the rejection ceremony, everything shifted. We were close on the cot, books abandoned. His lips found mine, slow at first, then sharp, hungry. His rut simmered under his skin, the bond pulling tight. His hand gripped my side, dragging me closer, then froze. His breath hitched. Wait. I blinked, dazed. What? His eyes searched me, voice rough, disbelieving. I can't feel your heat. The words gutted me, my stomach twisted, my mouth went dry. There was no hiding anymore. I'm pregnant. Silence. Then his eyes widened, shock slicing through him. Pregnant? His voice cracked, then hardened. And you didn't tell me? His grip dropped. He staggered back, wild, shaking his head. How long have you known? Weeks? Months? Cael... He paced like a caged beast, rut bleeding into the air, anger sharp as steel. Do you have any idea what this means? What you've done to me? Us? My throat burned. I was scared. Everything was falling apart. Your father, the elders, Vaughn. Scared? His voice broke against desperation. You should have trusted me. My hand went to my stomach, instinctive, protective. I'm sorry. The words cut deeper than anything. He turned, bracing against the wall, shoulders trembling. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, hoarse. This changes everything. My heart stuttered. How? He turned. His eyes were iron. Dorian law forbids pups from multiple mates. If you're carrying my child, I can't reject you. Not tomorrow. Not ever. The weight of it crushed the air from my lungs. Then run with me. The words tore out raw, desperate. Leave it all, your father, the elders, Vaughn. Without you, his plan collapses. Both families survive. We can disappear. Raise our child somewhere no one knows us. For one heartbeat, he wavered. Want, ache, temptation flaring through the bond. Then his jaw locked. Armor slammed back into place. You don't understand. I can't. My people... His hand dragged down his face. I'm bound to them, Ari. If I walk away, the elders will rip each other apart. Everything burns, I laughed, bitter. So you'll shackle yourself to Vaughn? Let them dictate your life forever? That's your great duty? His voice cracked like a whip. It's not about me. He loomed closer, eyes blazing. It's about every Dorian who bleeds for me, who starves when enemies cut our supply lines. I can't abandon them, not even for you. The bond seared between us. My hands shook against my stomach. Then what am I? Just another chain? His face crumpled, rage, grief, need all tangled. No, he said, fierce, almost broken. You're the only thing I want. The only thing that feels real. And that's why I can't let them destroy you. Cael dropped to one knee, gathering my hands. His voice shook but held steel. I swear on my Dorian blood, this ends tonight. I wanted to believe him. Gods, I wanted to. But doubt still coiled in my chest. The ceremony is tomorrow. He pressed a hand to my stomach. A few hours is enough. Trust me. And when I looked into his eyes, there was no room for doubt. He rose, pulling me gently but firmly to my feet. My legs wavered, but his grip steadied me. Easy, he murmured, slipping an arm around my waist like it had always belonged there. The cell door groaned open. For the first time in weeks, fresh air touched my face. Stay close, he whispered, leading me out. His voice was both warning and vow. From here on, no one touches you. The next day, the hall throbbed with noise. Chants, banners, the crush of tradition. From behind the curtain, I saw them. Elders robed in gold, the clan packed shoulder to shoulder, and Vaughn at the center, smug as stone. My stomach knotted. The herald's cry split the air. Cael Dorian, heir of Clan Dorian, enters. The curtain parted. Cael strode out, tall and unshaken. I followed. The hall fractured. Gasps, whispers, shock rippling like thunder. At the front, Cael's father lurched to his feet, fury blazing. What is the meaning of this? Cael didn't even glance at him. He climbed the dais, voice cutting the air clean. There will be no rejection. Not now, not ever. Because this man, his hand seized mine, raising it high, is mine. I love him, and he carries my child. The hall erupted. Shouts, curses, disbelief. My knees nearly gave under the weight of every stare. Vaughn's face curdled into rage. Liar! He lunged. Cael moved faster. In a blur, Vaughn was crushed to the stone, Cael's knee at his throat. The hall froze. Don't touch him, Cael growled, low and guttural, the sound shaking the banners. Vaughn gagged under the pressure. Elders shouted, outrage, demands for order. Others murmured, already bending to the shift in power. Cael! His father thundered, robes flaring. You disgrace your oath. Release him. Cael's eyes burned molten. My oath is to my people, not your greed. My bond is to him. No one, not even you, will tear it apart. Gasps cracked the silence. Final, irrevocable. Vaughn thrashed, spitting fury. He's an imposter. Can't you see? Cael slammed him harder, stone ringing. Enough. You dare poison this hall? You dare call my mate a traitor? His father shoved forward, but Cael rose, dragging Vaughn up like a rag doll. You forget yourself, boy, Cael's father hissed. I am Alpha of this clan. Not anymore. Cael's words sliced clean. He flung Vaughn to the guards, who pinned him fast. Then he turned, radiating pure authority. Your reign is finished, father. From this moment, the Dorians follow me. The law was clear. An heir with a child claimed the right of rule. The mantle passed in that breath. I stood drowning in 1,000 stares, heat flooding my face. Cael's hand closed on mine, steady, unyielding. He raised our hands higher, voice ringing over the storm. The future of Clan Dorian begins now, with me, with him, and with the child he carries. Chaos answered. Rage, awe, hope, all colliding in one shattering roar. And I could only stand there as the world burned and shifted beneath my feet. Conclusion. In the end, Vaughn was cast out. Not just from Dorian lands, but from ours too. My brother. Banished from the city entirely. It broke my parents. To lose a son is one grief. To watch him choose it, spit on everything they built. That cut deeper. The house sank into silence. My mother wept in secret. My father turned to stone, but every glance at me carried the question, would he lose me too? But Cael kept his word. He honored the alliance, not as conqueror, but as son-in-law, giving my family space to heal. Slowly, painfully, the cracks began to close. On the Dorian side, change came like storm break. With his heir secured, our heir, Cael tore through the old laws. Elders bent, the hierarchy crumbled. Where Omegas had once been pawns, he gave them voice, room to stand as more than vessels. A new order began, and in the center of it, us. Months later, in our home, I held our first pup. Small, fragile, perfect. Cael hovered close, alpha and father, fierce and soft all at once. When my parents came, my mother wept again, but this time it was healing. I thought of the boy I had been, chasing sunrises, fleeing politics, running from responsibility. I barely recognized him. I had grown past him. I wasn't just Cael's mate, not just an Omega bound by a bond I once thought a shackle. I was a father, son, partner in change. And as our pup's fingers curled tight around mine, I knew this was the beginning of a new story. One we would write together. The end. What do you think about Vaughn? Are there merits to his actions? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.